All right, welcome on this Q&A. Again, want to welcome on to this Q&A. Question came up about sukkahs. Just want to hit that question. There was a question, sukkahs coming up tomorrow night for Jews. Basically, it doesn't apply to non-Jews, but anyone in the process of conversion certainly can celebrate, right? No question. There are, kosher ways to celebrate, I would say. Even a person's not going to convert, but there was a question of making a barbecue, let's say, or cooking in a sukkah. Now, the halacha is that a person is, if they have to serve, let's say, I don't know, they're serving soup, meat, fish, whatever it may be. They want to bring a pot into the sukkah. Now, technically, you could. Right, technically, there's much less of an issue, right? Only because it's easier. It's just easier to bring the whole thing in, right? You don't have to go back and forth, etc. To the house, or if it's far away, let's say, or a little bit far away. So the question was, okay. So what do you do? So what do you do about cooking if it's far away, right? What do you do? So maybe, the question was, you allowed to cook in the sukkah. So if you had to serve, bringing pots, dirty pots, let's say, in the sukkah, okay, right? If that's the only way to do it, you want to serve, very good. Once you serve, just take the pots out. Now, why is that? Because the sukkah, you got to remember, sukkah is a holy place. Sukkah, we have whites around the boards, or whatever you made the sukkah out of, right? Usually like a big white tapestry, whatever, that covers it. Covers it usually on the inside. And what does that represent? It represents the Ananei cover, right? The clouds of glory, right? The clouds of glory followed the Jews wherever they went, right? They, the clouds of glory took care of all their needs, right? They didn't, wear out their clothing, their shoes, etc. Nothing got ruined. So anything that would be done in the home should be done in the sukkah. You want to speak on the phone, you speak in the sukkah. Again, as long as it's not raining, it's not too cold or whatever. You certainly have to eat there for sure, but you don't do anything disgusting in the sukkah. Right? God forbid speak Lashon Hara in the sukkah. It's forbidden to speak Lashon Hara anyway. Speak Lashon Hara in the sukkah is worse, right? Because it's a holy place. Right? It's a holy place. So the idea is that so bringing pots and pans in, so you can do it. Shouldn't leave them there. You only use it to serve because it's easier. Okay, better put them in other things than put them in the sukkah. Okay, right? But you're allowed to bring them in. Can't leave them there, for any length of time. Good. Now, what about cooking? You'll say, it's not disgusting per se. A person's got a grill. Let's say on sukkah, they want to, or even on festival, you can do this, right? As long as the grill was lit beforehand, right? If it's out of charcoal, so very good. That would certainly be better because then at least the fire go up by itself, right? Eventually, but leave it. If you have a gas thing, then you leave gas on. That's probably not a good idea because even if you have a gas balloon, that'll ruin. Everybody has to basically get rid of all your gas for the holiday, or whatever. But if you had a pre-existing flame, you had these coals already burning right before the festival, you could cook. The difference between a festival and Shabbos, right? You'd definitely be allowed to cook. Now, that being said, cooking in the sukkah, what's the problem? What essentially is the problem? Problem is that is it, the question is it really fitting for the sukkah? You say, what do you mean? If I'm allowed to cook on the fire, and I have a pre-existing flame, what's the problem? Right? Why couldn't I cook? So, even not on a festival, the intermediate days are holy. Right? A person really shouldn't work. If they should just take the whole time off. Sometimes you have a choice. Sometimes you have to work, okay? But you're not allowed to just do whatever you want. You can't just, write whatever you want. If you need something, let's say, you got to go to the store to buy something, you make a list, okay? Right? You don't have to write it in a different way than you normally would if it's something you really need. All right? But in general, there are, many, halachas governing this, what I'm allowed to do, not allowed to do. Right? I can do something if it's going to be what we call a davar avud, something you're going to lose. Right? That you couldn't get before or whatever. Like, all right, these are complex. These laws are complex. But the point is, even if it wasn't a festival, is this an everyday activity that should be done in the sukkah or not? Right? That is the question. That is the $1 million question. And the answer is no. It should not be done. It's not fitting. It's not fitting for the sukkah. Now, you could cook outside the sukkah, right? It's not a problem. Right? It's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to move that barbecue out, but you cook outside the sukkah. Cook outside the sukkah is not a problem. You can eat the food. It's not an issue because, again, you're not doing it in a holy place. I can get benefit. I can throw eat. That's not the issue. The issue is the thing itself a disgrace for the sukkah or not? And the answer is, by cooking in the sukkah, that is the case. It's considered a disgusting thing. Right? It's considered a disgusting thing, should not be done. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, someone did it. They didn't remember. They didn't know it was a problem. Right? They didn't know it was a problem. So what do? They did it. They ended up doing it. Is this something a person can get benefit from? Maybe you tell me it's so bad that if you did that, you can't eat the food now. Maybe you can eat it after the festival, whatever, but you can't eat the food now. Do we go that far? And the answer is no. If it was done, it was done. Yeah. If you did it, you did it. It wasn't the best thing to do. Okay. Nonetheless, if it was done, you get benefit from it. Right? We don't go that, we don't go that far. We don't go that far. Again, what's the best thing to do in this situation? Right? You have your food on your hot plate, or even if you have a pre-existing flame, right? In your house, you cook things up very good. Put it in something else. Right? You put it in something else when you serve it. Right? Better to put it in something else than put it in a pot. Right? That's the way it really comes out. Right? That you should put it in something, make it more presentable. Right? You put it in you put it on a plate. Right? You put it in a serving thing, whatever. Whatever it is, you just take it out of the pot. Putting it from the pot, putting it in the pot is not, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it in your own house, right? And here's your temporary house. This you wouldn't do in your own house. Why not? I mean, someone really going to bring, let's say you have 30, 40 people there. Or they even better. You have 10 people there, 5 people there. Friday night, nice cold Friday night. You're going to take, you're serving soup. You're not going to bring the soup to the table. You're not going to bring the soup in the pot to the table. No one's going to do that. I mean, I don't think. No one's going to serve from the pot at the table. It doesn't make sense. Anyone would. All right, so what do? Someone will serve, you bring it in. Or you bring it in on a big tray or whatever it is. So if you wouldn't do that in your house, you wouldn't do it in your sukkah. Right? Now, we're speaking about the sukkah. Sukkah is a holy place. So a person, if you want to learn, you should learn in the sukkah. Again, a person's going to say, come on, where I live, it's freezing. It gets very cold. Okay. Right? So if, let's say it gets very cold or it's hot, right? Florida can be hot. Other places can be hot. California can be hot. say Israel certainly can be warm, right? Even though it's not going to be, not going to be so warm here, but whatever, it'll be warm. Nonetheless, that bothers you. You'd rather learn inside your house. Okay. That's certainly you're allowed to do. You don't have to make yourself uncomfortable or do something uncomfortable in order to get the mitzvah of the sukkah. Because then you don't enjoy. You have to eat there, right? If you eat bread, or if you eat anything of the 5 grains, wheat, barley, spelt, rye, or oats, cookies, cakes, whatever, you need a sukkah, right? You need to make the blessing over the sukkah. Right? Now, this is an interesting thing. What if you had a lot of wine, drank a lot of wine, right? Let's say, right? You had a lot of wine. You had a lot of wine. You make a meal on wine. Whatever it may be. To make the blessing on the sukkah or that. That's a major, that's a major thing. Right? That's a major that is a major question. Because really it should be for bread. Right? Certainly for bread. More than or let's say anything of the 5 grains, wheat, barley, spelt, rye, or oats. Right? Person adds, cake. Person adds spaghetti. Right? There's a question. There's a question of eating meat and fish. Not together, obviously. We don't eat meat and fish together. But, if I had a whole meal of meat, burgers, steak, whatever, should I make the blessing of sitting in the sukkah or not? Right? What's the question? It's not bread. But you're eating a meal. Essentially, you're eating a meal. Right? You're not just eating steak by itself. You're eating other things with it. Okay. Right? So the major question. Major question. So one answer is eat less than the amount, and you would be like fulfilling your obligation to eat a meal. That you could do. Or, much easier, eat bread. Right? Eat a piece of bread, have your steak, no problem. Right? You don't want to run into problems. The caveat here is, if you hold like the Vilna Gaon, Rabbi Elijah Vilna, blessed memory, he held, even if you're just sitting in the sukkah, I mean, you have to be there for a certain amount of time, but even if you're sitting in the sukkah, you're not eating. The Vilna Gaon holds you make the blessing anyway. But you can't just be there for a second, make the blessing, and leave. Right? You got to be there for, significant amount of time. So he holds, when you walk into a sukkah, if you're going to be there for a certain amount of time, you make the blessing regardless of whether you eat or not. Now, not everyone holds that. The majority opinion is it should be over something, either bread or something similar to bread, or cookies or cake or something like that you could fix a meal on. Right? Technically speaking, if a person ate, I don't know, a whole box of cookies, more than 200 grams, like bread, you have to wash. Right? Or you say grace after meals, right? Kind of strange. Kind of strange. You polish off that box, and then I'd say grace after meals. Yeah. So, better to make sure you're obligated. And once you're obligated, okay. Right? Once you're obligated, you have no problem making the blessing over the sukkah. So again, eat bread, eat cake, eat cookie, something, eat other things with it. And that would take you out of the problem. If you hold like Rav Elijah Vilna, you don't have an issue. In either case, you don't have an issue. Right? You sit in the sukkah, even if you don't eat, you're there for, a significant amount of time. You're there for half an hour, an hour, whatever it may be. You don't make the blessing. Now, if you go in and out, you don't make the blessing every time you come in. Right? If you are on the sukkah for a significant amount of time, yeah, maybe. Right? Maybe then you go back, you'd have to make a blessing. Right? But if you're just in and out for a few minutes, go speak to someone outside, or gotta go answer the phone, or something else happened, okay, then, your intention is I'm in the sukkah. Right? I don't have to make a new blessing. I certainly don't have to make a new blessing. right? So in general, then I would say that these other things, unless you hold like the Vilna Gaon, make sure you eat bread, right? Make sure you eat bread, and you don't have a problem. Somebody asks, you put up screens, keep your sukkah and flies out. Yeah, you gotta be careful though. Yeah, if you're putting it inside the sukkah, yeah. Yeah, what's the problem that people have? Bees. So you don't want bees around. So what some people do is they take let's say a grape juice bottle, have a little bit of grape juice on the bottom, put grape juice on the top, right? Leave it open, obviously, right? You leave the bottle open. You have like a little bit of grape juice on the bottom. You put grape juice on the top of the bottle. Bee gets enticed by that, it goes to the bottom. And guess what? When a bee gets to the bottom, it can't get out. Now, at that point, on a festival or on Shabbos, you cannot cover the bottle now, trap it, right? That's forbidden. That for sure you're not allowed to do, right? But the bee, anyway, in that case, the bee can't get out anyway. So even if it's trapped by itself, that's fine, right? So could a person put in an electric thing that's going to kill them? In theory, yeah. Some people what they do is they have mesh going around so they can't get in, right? So insects can't get in, right? But again, can't put it on top, right? That would nullify the schach. That would be a problem, But you can put it around. You can certainly put it around the sukkah so that no mosquitoes or whatever get in. There are people who live in certain areas got a problem with mosquitoes, or you have a problem with what do you call it, bees, or something like that. So yeah, that you can do. If it's too hot, I know people one year was like very hot. They put an AC in, because it was unbearable, right? It was it was too hot. So it could be at that point you're already exempt. You don't have to go that far. Or let's say it's very cold. Yeah, let's say it can get very cold in certain places. I just saw someone posted where they live is 32 degrees, right? 0 degrees Celsius. Like it's cold, right? That is definitely cold. Sit in the sukkah and eat a meal, you can do it. Sleeping in the sukkah, that'd be cold, right? That would be cold. It's going to be 55, 55, 60 at night. So perfect sleeping in the sukkah weather. But in general, if it would be cold, you'd be exempt. You'd definitely be exempt from sleeping in the sukkah. Now, let's say you really want to sleep in the sukkah. You want the mitzvah, okay. But it's very cold. So let's say you got an outlet there. Could I plug in a heater? Good. Right? Because what does the Torah say? Teshvu ka'ein teduru. You have to dwell in it like you dwell in your house. What happens when it gets cold in the house? Turn on the heat. Right? Turn on the heat. Now, if it's that cold, do you have an obligation to go that far? I don't know if you have an obligation to go that far. I wouldn't say you would have an obligation to go that far. If you want to, you can. You definitely can. There's a halacha. What if it rains first night or first 2 nights outside of Israel? There's the positive command to eat bread in the sukkah the first 2 nights. The other nights are options. First 2 nights or the first night in Israel, is obligatory. Now, what if it's pouring? Okay, so can't eat in the sukkah. How long do you have to wait? Some say you have to wait half an hour. Some say wait an hour. Yeah, if you can go in and let's say it's going to dissipate, and you won't have that problem. Very good. So what do? So you wait. And what if it's raining all night? So yeah, then you get a problem. But you live in places that full of rain all the time. We use I guess England is a good example because that's all it does there. It's rains. That's why everyone in England is pale, right? Because they get no sun. There's like barely any sun. But that's the way it goes. You live in a place like that. Okay. Right? What a lot of people do is they have a roof. If it rains, you pull down the roof. So the rain doesn't get in. Everybody has it. It's not like this is a minority here. Right? In places like that where it always rains, it's going to rain. The question is, it's going to continually rain or not continually rain, but it's going to rain. Right? So they have these slats. They have this thing where they make it. It's like you pull the roof on, or you can pull it off. Right? You can pull it off. Right? So if it's on, you can still sit in the sukkah. Right? You're still able to sit in the sukkah, so no rain gets it. Right? But you can say even at that point you're exempt. But that's what a lot of people do. Right? They pull it down, they sit in the sukkah. Right? The problem is in places like that, it's cold. Okay. Yeah, my kids would like complain when I was in America. They would complain, frostbite, they're gonna die, the this and that. And it wasn't that cold. It's only like in the 50s. That's perfect weather. That's perfect weather. As long as it doesn't rain. But in general, when it gets colder than that, okay, that's a real issue. So the question is, can you put screen around your sukkah? Yeah, that's not going to nullify. That's not going to, nullify it. If you put it on top of the schach that covers the sukkah, that'd be a problem, right? That would be a problem because then the schach, which you're supposed to be able to see the sky, right, is covered, right? Even if it's above it. It's got this question today. Someone had asked, neighbor has branches of a tree that go over their sukkah, covers 25% of their sukkah. Yeah, so they said they're allowed to sit, in the sukkah. So they're allowed to sit in the sukkah, not underneath that part. 75% of the sukkah is kosher. 25% is not. And you can't ask them to cut it down, whatever. But at the end of the day, what's the problem? What's the problem? Because it's like you're sitting under a tree. And the law is you can't sit under a tree, you got to sit under a sukkah. Right? You cannot sit under a tree. So, so all these questions if I had two trees and a sukkah in the middle. But the main thing of the sukkah is you're using the trees as the walls. So yeah. So, that would be a problem. Certain cases. Okay. But as long as there's something above, let's say the schach, which you cover the sukkah with, whatever it is, whether you cover it with leaves, branches or palm fronds or whatever, they have these mats or bamboo mats, whatever to cover it, because you have to make sure there's more, what do you call it? There's more shade than there is sunlight. Very good. That you got to make sure to do. Right? Okay. But if I have something above that, let's say I have, in this case, like a screen, or like a tree, or, it's not, it's a branch, but it's not the tree itself. Nonetheless, it's like it's under the tree, or it's under this branch. So that's the problem, because first of all, the branch is very big. Right? It's not a small branch. So it's like you're sitting under a tree. You can't sit under a tree. Halakha explicitly says you cannot sit under a tree. But if the rest of your sukkah is kosher, it's okay. As I remember one year, this apartment had a very small sukkah. Very, very small sukkah. And so we had something that was holding up the schach. And it was on it was on wood or whatever it was. And, we thought we tied it, pretty tight. And I was on the second floor. And it was windy, right? It was very windy. So what happened? So that night, Friday night, actually, that night, all of a sudden, got really windy. And the schach started to go up like a flagpole. Up and down, right? Not good, sleepy mode here. And by the time it died down, half the sukkah was kosher. Okay, so I'm mostly girls, so it wasn't a problem. So half the sukkah was okay. I couldn't fix it. There's nothing to do with Shabbos. So I went to take a nap Saturday afternoon, right after lunch, and then all of a sudden, boom! Right here's this big boom, and the rest of the schach collapsed, basically came apart. So now the entire sukkah was no good, but that wasn't the irony. But when all this stuff fell, thank God it didn't fall right on top of me, but other things to break the fall. So yeah, I was able to get out, but I couldn't sit there for the third meal. So went to someone else that their sukkah was fine. So that can happen. So after Shabbos we fixed it up, tied it a lot tighter and whatever. So even if it was windy, that was the problem. So where I am now is definitely more windy than I've been the last 8 years. The last 8 years I was in a place where it was surrounded by 3 walls. It was like no wind, almost no wind whatsoever. So yeah, tied a little bit down, not very much, put a few boards, beams, let's say, on top. And even if there was a wind, it's not going to knock it over. This year's a little bit different, right? This year, could very well get windy. So, we got a few beams on top, tied schach to that and tied the rest down. I mean, not all of it, but whatever, a lot of it. So it shouldn't be it shouldn't be a problem. But obviously, obviously in a question like that, if there's a lot of wind, if there's a lot of wind, what's the problem? You got walls. Walls can't move. You cannot have walls. You see, there's some sukkahs people have. They have what you call they're made out of metal, which is fine because sukkah can be made pretty much out of anything. So the walls are metal bars, so that you don't have a problem because those walls don't move. So even if you put something around it for privacy, and that flaps in the wind, that's not a problem because you're not using that as a wall. You're just using that covering, whatever, that tarp, whatever it is. You're using that in order to what? For privacy, right? Because essentially that's what I have also. So I have 3 natural walls. I have a huge porch, 3 natural walls, and so we put up this tarp or whatever for privacy, right? Going around, mostly for privacy. So even if that moves, that's not a problem because it's not a wall. Now, let's say that, I've seen these people use sukkahs and they use this like tarp as walls. Now, if these tarps move in a what they call a ruach mitsuya, what do you call it? A wind, a common wind that's common. It has to withstand the pressure of not moving. If it flaps like a drop, a little bit, okay. Yeah. It cannot flap that much because it has to be a wall that can withstand winds. If it gets very windy in places, it can get very windy, no question. But if it gets very windy and these are the only walls you have, if they're not fortified by something, usually what people do is they'll use boards, right? They won't just use this tarp or whatever it is. They'll attach it to boards, right? The boards are the wall, not the thing flapping back and forth. But it'll be attached to the wall anyway, so it won't move. You gotta reinforce the walls also, so the walls don't move, right? But if you're using them for real walls, if you're using, let's say, this tarp for the wall, and it moves, that's a problem, right? That's a very serious problem. If they're not part of the wall, they're just covering the wall, it's not a problem because they're not using it as the main part of the wall. But if it moves at any time, again, it has to be able to withstand the pressure of wind. That's why people have, that's why they use what do you call it? Either metal, because that's not going to move, or they'll use, let's say, a lot of people use wood. They use wood. They have these wood panels, and they attach a whole bunch of wood panels together. You get these very strong twisty ties, right? That's how you do it. You drill a hole, in each panel, at the same level as the other panel. You tie them together. It's very, very tight, right? Very, very tight. So you put them together, and you can make it into like a U-shaped thing, and you make a sukkah. And then you can put beams on top and schach, and that's it. But these walls, you normally need beams or something behind them to withstand the pressure of the wind, because if not, the whole thing will come apart. Right? 100%, the whole thing will come apart. I remember, even in one place, where I lived, so we put beams behind the walls just to make sure the walls didn't move. Right? I mean, the beams go back pretty far, but they're strong. Right? So even in a strong wind, it's not gonna, you put a bunch of them, 2 or 3, whatever, on each side to make sure, or only a couple, so it doesn't move. But the point is, if you have this material, whatever it is, I called it tarp, whatever it is, you're using that as a wall, and you got it tied down. Very good, right? That should work if it doesn't move. It doesn't move in the wind. If you're using it just for privacy, it's not a problem because you're not using it as a wall. So that's what I would say the answer to that is. Somebody asks, can Noahides do sukkah? So we asked this last week. What about Rosh Hashanah? Isn't there judgment by non-Jews? Yes. Right? 100% there's judgment by for non-Jews on Rosh Hashanah. They're not aware of it, but most non-Jews probably not aware of it. They are being judged on Rosh Hashanah. The whole world right, gets judged on Rosh Hashanah. All mankind gets judged on Rosh Hashanah. Very good. Now, if I was a non-Jew, as a Noahide, would I be obligated to go to synagogue and sit there for 12 hours? No, not at all. Can I read through the prayer book? I don't know. It's all about judgment. Think about judgment. You don't have to read through the prayer book. This is what Jews have to do. This is what we have to go through. Right? Now, understanding there's judgment, taking on the yoke of heaven, right? Understanding God's the one in charge. Yeah, that they can do. That's not a problem. Otherwise, shouldn't apply. Now, Yom Kippur. Let's take Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur all about averas, about transgressions. Don't non-Jews transgress? Don't Noahides transgress? Sure. Right? And, the vast majority of Noahide laws, you're not liable for death penalty. Right? But, repentance helps. We see because by the afternoon service on Yom Kippur, what's the Haftorah we read? Book of Jonah. All about repentance. See, even non-Jews can repent, right? City of Nineveh, they all repented. Even their animals put sackcloth on. Right? They repented. Very good. Yeah, they don't need to repent necessarily, but okay. So you see, there's repentance by non-Jews. Now, does that mean 5 times during the day? They have to be like us and beat our chest and say, I did this, I did that, I did the other thing? No. Is it good for them to appease others that they might have wronged? Yes. That's a very good thing to do. But to go through the whole service, be in synagogue all day and that doesn't apply to them. Repentance does apply. Okay, so some things do apply. Very good. Passover. They want to eat matzah. They can eat matzah. Not a problem. Should they go through the Haggadah? Why? Did they come out of Egypt? Nope. Did their ancestors come out of Egypt? Nope. You got the converts and the Jews that came out of Egypt. Right? The converts either from Egypt, from other places. So that wouldn't apply. It's about divine providence. Right? It's all about divine providence, how God took the Jews out of Egypt, how God's in charge. Very good. Is divine providence one of the Noahide laws? Right? Before we get to the other holidays. Does the non-Jew have to believe in divine providence? Now, some people would say, yes. It's a very important thing that God runs the world, God's in charge, we can't do anything without him. Yes, very true. But guess what? It's not one of the Noahide laws. That's not, one of the Noahide laws has to be something universal according to the Torah. Belief in one God, they have to believe in it. No question about it. Should they say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad every day? Yes. They say anything else with the Shema? No. Third paragraph doesn't apply. They don't wear tzitzis. Right? And come out of Egypt. Second paragraph may apply. Right? That may apply. Because it's all about reward and punishment. By non-Jews also reward and punishment. Right? The first paragraph maybe. Right? Talk about loving God, teaching Torah to your children. Right? Even if you're not, only obligated in some aspects of it. Yeah. But the halacha would be, the first line they should say, right? Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. That they should say. That is taking on, the yoke of heaven. That non-Jew should do. Okay. Yeah. But now you take, while I'm on that, what about a Jewish prayer book? Well, a Jewish prayer book doesn't apply to them. Many, many things only apply to Jews. There are some things that may apply to non-Jews, okay. But you can remember one thing. The prayers that Jews say are in the plural. Many of them are in the plural. Because they apply to us, they don't apply to non-Jews. Right? And so this question comes up a lot. Can I use an Art Scroll prayer book as a Noahide? So I'd say no. You can, pick apart certain things that are universal that non-Jews can say, okay. There is a Noahide prayer book. Use that prayer book. But I have to use ours. Right? So now, that's Passover. Shavuos. What Shavuos all about? Cheesecake. Staying up all night. Right? Stay up all night because, Jewish people were asleep. God had to wake them up. And so we want to fix that up when God gave the Torah. So we want to stay awake all night. Very good. That applied to non-Jews. They didn't get the Torah. They want to eat cheesecake? Great. They want to learn Torah a lot that night? Great. Other things don't apply. Right? Now, what's the other holiday? What's that? So then you got Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we spoke about it. Sukkot. Right? Sukkot. So one of the reasons we go in a sukkah, the Jews went in sukkahs when they were traveling around. Right? They had these booths or whatever. And there was a command to sit in the sukkah, certainly in the fall. Why? Because if I sit in the sukkah, if I made a sukkah now, and it was summertime, people wouldn't say you're doing it for the mitzvah. People would say it's so hot outside, you want to get relief from the heat. So you build the sukkah. Very good. Yeah, but that's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah has to be in the fall. The show, because there are a lot of places it's cold. It is, it can be snowy, it can be cold. So you're going into the sukkah for the sake of the mitzvah, right? Now, so that wouldn't apply necessarily to non-Jews, right? And Passover certainly has to be in the fall, so you have to adjust the calendar. Remember, there are 11 and a half days difference between the lunar calendar and the solar calendar, right? So every 19 years, 7 times, it's going to be a leap year. 7 times out of 19 years, you're going to have an extra month, because Passover, the Torah says clear, it has to be in Chodesh Aviv. What is Chodesh Aviv? Springtime, the month of spring. Cannot be in the winter, cannot be in the fall. You have to adjust the calendar. So what do? You had an extra month. Hillel fixed the calendar before the Jews went into exile, right? So Hillel fixed the calendar. Very good. Now, for Muslims, we don't really care that much, but for Muslims in general, I would say that their Ramadan can fall winter, spring, summer, or fall. Because they also go according to lunar calendar, very good, but they don't make adjustments. So their Ramadan can fall any time of the year. For us, there's a problem. It's a problem. Passover has to be in the spring. Sukkot has to be in the fall. So the calendar has to be adjusted. So he'll fix that. But I think it's 7 times out of 19 years. I think that's the way it works out. You will have a leap year, right? We just came through a leap year. That's why Sukkot this year is very late. So, so again, a person sitting in their sukkah, what does it represent? We read the book of Ecclesiastes, right? Ecclesiastes is all about the whole world is frivolousness and nothingness and whatever. And he says, I was the king of Jerusalem, and the only most important thing is Torah. So you're seeing in your understanding that the physical world, is meaningless. I got to live in it, got to sustain myself, got to do other things. Okay. Right? But this world's a world of nothing. Right? It's what we call a lama de shikra. It's a world of false. Now, isn't that a good book for Noahides to read on sukkahs? Yeah. Why not? Not a problem at all. Now I'd say, doesn't that apply to them more, just as much as anyone else who are living in that type of world? You could argue that. You very well could argue that. But again, if you look at where the holiday comes from and what it is, it doesn't apply to them. Right? These other things don't apply to them. So Kaufman's law is that either, a person wants to do, be more in tune or whatever, take on more mitzvahs, that's great. They'll convert. That's what any rabbi would tell you, convert. They don't want to convert. And someone wants to tell me they love to convert, they like eating shrimp. I said, okay, so we eat shrimp. We don't need you anyway. So we eat shrimp, good. Yeah, the cockroaches of the ocean. Okay, people love shrimp, they don't care. Right? They don't care what it looks like and how it's sauteed and whatever, they'll eat it, good. The problem is when people overstep their boundaries. Now, they'll quote the Rambam. The Rambam says any mitzvah they do, they should get reward for. Okay, that needs clarification on what exactly that means. Does that mean a non-Jew can do whatever they want just like a Jew in many ways? No. There are people go way too far with this. Way too far with this. Yeah? So now, you want to ask me simply? I would say no. Right? There are some things that might apply, right? Philosophically, may apply. But again, in general, doesn't apply. Right? Certainly shouldn't apply. Someone says, daughter said a rabbi asked for a doctor's note. She wanted to not fast. Even though she was pregnant. What do you think? So the question is, is it dangerous for her to fast? For some women, if they're pregnant, they can't fast. It's forbidden for them to fast. Right? Because of the nature of the pregnancy. But in general, you have to go to a doctor also that has fear of heaven here. Because they're going to say, come on, you're pregnant, whatever, however far along. They could just say, what do you have to fast for? Like, why take the risk? You're already pregnant. Why take the risk? Yeah. So you have to go to a doctor that has, that could feel for, Jewish custom. This is a Torah obligation to fast. We're not looking for excuses not to fast. Plenty of pregnant women fast. Now, if it's a danger to them or a danger to the baby, they have to eat. It's like anyone else has to eat. It depends on the circumstance. Now, a lot of women, let's say in their 9th month, if they fast, can that bring on contractions? Yes. 100% it can bring on contractions. I mean, they shouldn't fast. They still have an obligation for pregnant women. It's harder to fast. For sure it's harder to fast. Or a nursing woman. Right? Nursing woman means the baby's eating from the mother, a majority of the time. It makes the mother weaker, right? 100% makes her weaker. That's not an excuse though not to fast. Minor fasts are a different issue. There are 2 Torah fasts. One of them Yom Kippur, one of them the fast of the 9th of Av. Right? Brought down from the prophets. Very good. Those things we're extremely stringent on. Since we're extremely stringent, you'd have to go to a doctor with fear of heaven that can answer the question. Yeah. That's what I would say. If the doctor would say it's a danger, for your type of pregnancy or whatever, or your history, right? Then, you shouldn't fast. Right? But it has to be someone with fear of heaven who understands the severity of this. There is a certain amount a person could drink over time if they need to. If they absolutely need to. But you have to see. You have to see. If this doctor doesn't have fear of heaven, he's just saying, come on, we need to fast anyway, you're pregnant, it could be dangerous, it could be this. But he's always saying it because he doesn't care. He doesn't believe in religion or doesn't believe in your religion or whatever. Like, why would you put your life in danger? So the question is it really putting your life in danger or not? That's why you need somebody that has, that has fear of heaven. If you don't have fear of heaven, you have to see who the person is, and how they're looking, how they're looking at the situation. Couldn't the mother do a substitution fast? No. I mean, in theory, yeah. In theory, but it doesn't matter. If you transgress the fast and you ate, if you had to, let's make it very simple. If you had to eat on the fast, you're obligated to eat. You don't make up the fast. You're obligated to eat. It's a mitzvah for you to eat. There are people, certain things got high blood pressure, other things they have to eat. It's a mitzvah for them to eat. If they put their life in danger, it's forbidden. They're not allowed to. Now, it doesn't mean, you're having steak and ice cream and other things or whatever. It doesn't mean that. Right? You eat to satisfy the body. That's it. Right? But making it up, how does that help? Other fasts, that might be a different issue. But if you transgress, what can you do? Right? That's what I would say on that. Somebody asks, only circumcised male can participate in Yom Kippur. Who says? It's only a Jew, really. I mean, you're right. Right? By Passover, it certainly seems like that, right? Because they had to be circumcised first. Right? But again, they don't have to fast. They can go through, repentance and preparations for repentance and all that. That's for sure they can do. That's for sure they can do. And they can think about things they've done wrong, how they're going to fix it, and if they offended other people. That for sure they can do. But going to the fast itself, who says it does anything for them? I know people do it. I know people feel in tune with it, but, for themselves and their relationship to God, who says it does anything? in a certain way, kind of like you're taking a placebo. Okay, you think it helps. Other people taking the real medicine, you're taking the placebo, right? The sugar pill. And you think, oh, it made me feel great, or maybe this, maybe that. Okay, but it was a placebo. So you say, what did I feel? I don't know, psychosomatic. I can't tell you what you felt, right? But it's not for the sake of the mitzvah. It's not for the sake in this case, for the sake of being cured. Even if you have the same disease as everyone else, right? And you're taking this other medicine that may help, may not help. So you're going to say, well, it really helped me. And, and let's say for argument's sake, the disease by you went away. Maybe some others this medicine helped or whatever. Okay. But for sure by you took the placebo. Right? We'll make it very juicy here. Right? You took the placebo, and now the doctors say afterwards, with some other people, the disease disappeared. Great. The doctor said, I have no explanation how your disease disappeared. You didn't get the medicine. The medicine didn't affect you. Now, doctors will say attitude has a huge effect on people. Doesn't mean the person's going to come out of a disease, but an attitude is a lot. How they look at things, whatever. Some people told this, number of stories like this. Some people gave up the will to life. They had a stroke or whatever, and they died shortly thereafter because they didn't have a will to live. Now, is the will to live a guarantee you're going to overcome it? No. But it helps. Attitude helps. Now, doctors in this case will not have an explanation. They'll tell you, we have no idea how you got cured. We have no idea why this disease disappeared. Because we gave you placebo. We have it written down right here. So I say, maybe someone switched it. Yeah, maybe. But that's not the case. The case is you got the placebo. So what's the explanation? You say maybe they made a mistake. You didn't have the disease. Maybe. I mean, we come up with all kinds of ideas, which are probably very far from the truth. Probably very, very far from the truth. Yeah, but you had it. There's no rational explanation. I mean, there's one. There's one rational explanation. We have to be holding according to this mentality, and that is God took it away. That's it. That's the only way. Other people didn't, either he did take it away or he didn't take it away. Right? But according to nature, how did that get taken away? You say it's God, right? Okay. But they took medicine. They took an alternative medicine that worked. Let's say. And deep down we know really God healed them. Okay. But if someone took a placebo and you knew that 100% they took a placebo, how'd the person get cured? Well, not from a sugar pill. There's nothing in the pill. So how'd the person get cured? What's the answer? Doesn't mean God cured them, or they didn't have the disease. I mean, you have to come on to something, right? But it's in their mind. Totally in their mind. In their mind, a person's mind doesn't cure diseases, but it has an effect. Doctors will say it has an effect. Positive effect can take a person a long way. Maybe. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay. But if you have a negative effect, you have no will to live, you'll die. You'll die in a shorter amount of time. Right? Statistically, that's been proven also. Right? So that's what I would say on that. What does it mean having a Jewish soul after conversion? Can't answer. Don't know. They get a different aspect of the soul, right? That goes in after conversion. But what does the person feel? I don't know. You have to ask someone who had a proper conversion. And you have to ask them what they felt before and after. Yeah, I will say one thing. One thing I will mention, and that is that after conversion, a person feels very different. Now, why do they feel different? Because up until conversion, anything they do, whether they pray, keeping festivals, not eating milk and meat together, all these different things, guess what? It's all practice. It's all practice. They don't have any obligations. Now, all of a sudden, once they convert, let's say you're a guy, we'll make it simple. Now you get all the obligations. You got to pray 3 times a day. The way you think it's going to change now about prayer and other things. things change. The evil inclination is much different. I say, wow, I got a big evil inclination now. What's going to happen then? It's going to be impossible to fight against. It's different. See, once you're obligated, once you're not obligated, if you don't have the obligation, you do it, you don't do it, you do more, you do less, okay. Whatever it is. Once you're obligated, it takes on a whole different mentality. The whole different thing. Because now I got to be much more careful when I make blessings, when I say God's name, how I keep Shabbos, so I don't make mistakes. It's very different. You make mistakes now, good. Make all the mistakes now as an anj. But afterwards, it's for real. So the cause and effect is different. The cause and effect will be different. The Gemara says, I'll just throw this out there to scare everybody. The Gemara says, why does a non-Jew have such a hard time after conversion? So even before conversion, I always say people have a hard time. I also have a very hard time. Why is it harder? Why does it seem it's even worse after conversion? What's the difference? So the Gemara says, you know what the difference is? The difference is people who converted didn't learn enough before conversion, and they messed themselves up in the process. Not that it wasn't a valid conversion. It's a valid conversion. Yeah, but what they learned was a hodgepodge. They didn't really know what they were doing, and they converted anyway. Okay? So you can say, well, is that on the Beis Din? Is that on the rabbinical court? Yeah. But at the same time, you can't keep a person, 5-10 years from converting. If they're ready to convert, they know more or less what they need to know. Okay. What are some people who know less? They know enough to convert. Okay. But if they didn't learn things properly, they can get tossed around even worse. That's why people always say, it should take me so long and this, that, right? The average about 2 years, right? Let's say about 2 years. But I would say, at the end of the day, what do you have to do? You got to learn what you need to learn properly. Like you say, how do I know I'm ever ready to convert? Okay, so we can see where a person's holding. And even after conversion doesn't mean they know every last thing or whatever. It means they have requisite knowledge for conversion. Okay. Now it's up to them. What are they going to do? Now it's up to them. How much knowledge and different things. Someone asked, you don't eat milk and meat at the same time, right? Doesn't the Torah say you can't cook a calf in its mother's milk? So there are 3 things. You can't cook it, even if no one eats it, can't eat it, can't derive benefit from it. So the prohibition is where they're cooked together. Now, technically speaking, if I had cheese, wasn't aged more than 6 months, let's say I had cottage cheese, and now I want to eat meat. So then I don't have to wait. I can wash out my mouth, right? Have a drink, something, and then eat meat. If I want to eat meat, which is not a problem. You want to eat meat, good. You have to wait, let's say 6 hours before eating milk. Can't eat them together, right? That is forbidden, right? So it's no question where 6 hours come from, right? It's not really the point here, but the idea is you have to wait. You can't just do whatever you want. You tell me meat takes longer to digest. Sometimes meat gets stuck in your teeth, and whatever it is, you gotta wait. Now, Torah doesn't tell me why, right? This is no different than the red heifer, because here, if I have kosher meats and I have kosher cheese, right? That's Torah prohibition. Everything else is rabbinical, but okay, I have kosher meat and kosher cheese. The Torah does not tell me if I mix them together why it's forbidden. Doesn't tell me. Some say it's because that's why I didn't. One reason might be because for idolatrous festivals they did that way. Could be other reasons, but essentially there's no one clear-cut reason why. It's a decree. No different than the red heifer. It's a decree. But we don't eat milk and meat together. Milk you can eat first, and then have meat afterwards again, or cheese. So long as it has been aged for 6 months, very good. Milk after meat, that's an issue. Right? That's an issue. Again, why? Good question. Very, very good question. Right? The Rambam discussing the guide for the perplexed, but essentially, it's like many other things. We don't know why, but it's forbidden, 100%. 100%, it is forbidden. Someone says, my husband said he didn't feel anything after conversion. That he was already Jewish, had a Jewish soul. Well, we don't hold that way. You can tell him I said personally, we don't hold that way. If you're not a Jew or you weren't born a Jew, you don't have that Jewish soul. There are a lot of people who say this, right? It's okay. There are a lot of people that say it. I'm not picking on you, right? There are a lot of people who say they felt they had a Jewish soul before. Okay. You can feel that, right? And most likely your soul was on Mount Sinai and got messed up through intermarriage and assimilation. That's why I have to go through conversion. How does the Jewish soul become a non-Jewish soul? Good. That's Kabbalah. Very good. So people say, I feel this. Okay. Right? But, I'm going to tell you something very concrete. And that is, unless you go in front of a rabbinical court, you go in front of a proper rabbinical court taking on Torah mitzvahs, whatever you feel in your heart doesn't mean diddly squat. Doesn't mean nothing. Whatever you feel. Right? There's a Talmudic dictum that says words in my heart don't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. You can say, but what do I feel? I don't know what you feel. Maybe you're drawn to Judaism. Okay. There are a lot of people drawn to Judaism that want to convert. Some do, some don't. Whatever it is, they're drawn to it. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. How many end up converting? Very few. But even the ones that do convert, let's say they didn't make it to the finish line, which the majority don't. Yeah? Let's say they didn't make it to the finish line. And they died. Are they allowed to be buried in the Jewish cemetery? Yes or no? Straight question, yes or no? What's the answer? No. Why not? Because they didn't go for a rabbinical court. They didn't properly convert. That they were more Jewish than, whatever. I heard someone tell me this. They're more Jewish than most people and blah, 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 and all this and all that. Okay. I don't have an issue with that. That's probably true. I mean, you got 13.5 million Jews that don't know the alphabet. They don't know Shema Yisrael. Okay. Yeah. At the end of the day, if they didn't go through a conversion or a proper conversion, does that make them Jewish? That's the question. Did it make them Jewish? So good. So he went through proper rabbinical courts, right? Okay, so he's got a Jewish soul. I'm asking what happened before that. What happened before? What if there was no kosher basin? There was no basin, let's say. I've had a lot of people telling me this. I'm more Jewish than most people. I don't have to go in front of a basin. I feel Jewish. For us, that's okay, very nice. When they die, when this person dies, are they going to get buried in the Jewish cemetery? No. Because they didn't go through the proper channel. Oh, you tell me it's rabbinical and it doesn't matter. They will not be buried in the Jewish cemetery. Period. Because they didn't go through the proper channels. Now, some people get psyched out also. They get all excited or whatever to convert. They don't feel very much after it. Could be. Right? I can't say. I was born Jewish, so I can't say. Right? That I can't say. But again, the way it works is after you come out of the mikveh, you have a Jewish soul. If you didn't go to the mikveh in front of a basin, do you have a Jewish soul? The answer is no. That's what's lacking. So if that's what's lacking, you tell me, but I felt this. I felt drawn to, okay. Feeling drawn to it, every person has a spark of God in them, whatever that means. They're created in God's image, right? We should all be drawn to do God's will. Some people do it in a crazy way. Some people don't bother. Some people don't think about it. Some people, whatever. Too many life problems. They don't want to, That's how they get to anything in spiritual terms. God put a spark in them. So if God put a spark in that, if God would have put a spark in anybody, how would he come to Torah? How would he come to Torah if he didn't give us that spark, that special part of our soul? Nobody would. Absolutely not. Right? We wouldn't have free will. We'd be like animals, whatever. Okay, but not even going into that big topic. Right? And this is a hard thing for some people to hear. I understand. But at the end of the day, and I've heard this from a lot of people, they'll say, I don't care about conversion. If I can't do it, whatever, I'm still, I'm going to die a Jew. Okay, you'll think in your mind, you're dying as a Jew. Okay. But no Jewish cemetery is going to bury you there if you didn't go through the proper channels. That's just the way it is. What a person feels, I can't answer. That I can't answer. Right? It's like, it's an example. Woman comes to Yosha Bear Salvation, bless the memory. She wants to wear a tallis. So I said, okay. So I said, here, gives her a tallis. She comes back 2 weeks later. I just want to thank you. You don't understand how much I felt wearing this tallis. And I know what you're talking about. I said, oh, don't you remember? A few weeks ago, you gave me this tallis. He goes, oh, that. They're just like an oversized bath towel with fringes on it. She's like, what? It's like, what are you telling me? He says, that wasn't a tallis. So, well, it looked like a tallis. It's got fringes on it. He said, yeah, I took some of the fringes off. So really, it doesn't have the status of a tallis. It's puzzle, right? It's blemished. The blemished tallis. Okay, I don't. So he said, but what did I feel? I felt this unbelievable connection to God. So he says, I can't tell you what you felt. I can't tell you, you didn't feel what the mitzvah was because you didn't do the mitzvah. It would be like, I'll give you an example. Sukkah is coming up, right? A person takes their lulav, takes their citron, their esrog, they take their willows, and they take their myrtle leaves. Now, willows have to be, willows dry out very quickly. So people buy a lot of them because they're very cheap anyway. So you buy a lot of them before the holiday, and you just change them every day, every other day, so they don't dry out. Let's say somebody takes dried out willow leaves, and shakes their lulav on sukkahs with all the intention of Kabbalah. Do they do the mitzvah? They didn't do the mitzvah. Blessings in vain, other issues. They did not do the mitzvah. How do I know? Where does my prophecy come in? The willows are blemished. They're puzzled. You can't use it. If the top of the lulav was cut off, you can't use it. Oh, but it looks like a lulav. Everything else is good about it. You're right. Everything else is good except that. So that nullifies the mitzvah. You didn't do the mitzvah. So if you didn't do the mitzvah, you're not getting the benefit of the mitzvah. You didn't do it. So a person's going to say, oh, but I felt so spiritual. Okay. You know what I would tell you? I mean, it's kind of harsh to say. You know what I'd tell you? It's no different than taking a broomstick. Take a broomstick with your lulav and your, take a broomstick instead of your esra, instead of your lulav. Take your broomstick, right? Take your willows and your myrtles, and you're shaking out the broomstick like this and like this. So you're going to say, I don't believe it in what I felt. Unbelievable holiness. Beautiful. You swang a broomstick. That's what it was. It was a broomstick. It's not a lulav. Right? Even better. You have your lulav, you took a lemon. You took a lemon as your esrog, right? Your esrog was more bumpy, right? Your esrog was a lemon on steroids, I would say. You take a lemon, yeah? No, it doesn't tell me what to take. It says a nice smelling fruit. You took a lemon, yeah? Nice, beautiful lemon. No splotches, no nothing, no dots on it. Beautiful. 100% a beautiful lemon. Did I do the mitzvah? Did I do the mitzvah? No. You did not do the mitzvah. There's no mitzvah. That's what it is. Right? If someone doesn't go to the mikveh for conversion, it's not a conversion. Right? What do they feel in their heart? I can't answer. That I can't answer. But I can tell you that part of the soul they don't have. How do I know? Because the soul goes in after conversion. And what if they have a bogus conversion? What if they have a reformed conversion? Yeah, the rabbis don't keep Shabbos, so they have the status of non-Jews. Can you have a rabbinical court of non-Jews? No. The whole thing is a farce. They can say, I feel so much closer to God. Okay. I can't say what they feel, right? Get fired for what I do here and say what I think people feel or they don't feel, right? People, hang me out to dry for that. Okay. I understand. I'm just telling you, for the process of the conversion, it doesn't go. That's not a conversion. They would still have to desecrate Shabbos before proper conversion. Regardless of what they feel, that doesn't matter. Again, I'm not telling people what they don't know or what they should know this. I can't say what a person feels. I can't. But that cannot be the soul going in if it's not a proper conversion. Right? That's my point. Somebody asks, 1 second. After conversion, is a continuing education? There should be. Just because a person converts doesn't mean they stop learning. It's like you finish a degree, you stop learning. Yeah. Or it depends the field you go in, whatever it is. Absolutely, they should continue learning. No question about it. Can a female convert marry a rabbi? Yes. The only person they can't marry is a Kohen. Kohen, they're not allowed to marry. Anyone else they can marry. Even if they're married, to a rabbi, does that mean they'll have continual education? I mean, in theory, but doesn't mean they can't listen to other classes and whatever. That anyone who converts, that's just the beginning. With all the knowledge that the person gets before conversion, that's great. But now the work really starts. So now it's really about, doing other types of learning or whatever. You have to continue learning. Even women have to continue learning, right? Well, whatever applies to them, no question. But yeah, it's going to be proper conversion, right? If you're circumcised since birth, where does the blood draw from? Top on the side, according to Chazon Ish. Right, do a little bit of prick of blood, what they call chataf is dam. Right, take a little bit from the top, and usually according to Chazon Ish, they do from the side also. Whatever, it's a little prick. They do it usually from the top. Usually from the top, and then they go to the mikveh straight away. They don't. It doesn't take long to heal. From what I understand, not like I said, it's a little prick. It doesn't shouldn't hurt. Right? It should, maybe it's the same as like, when they, person, they draw blood from a finger or something. Okay, initially it hurts a little bit, but, that doesn't stop a person from going to mikveh. They can go straight away. They can go straight away. Someone asked, will conversion process become simple or harder in the future? What do you mean the future? If the Messiah comes, there is no conversion. 100% there will be no conversion because you can't convert. Right? Once the Messiah comes, just like in the time of King David or King Solomon, there will be no there was no conversion then because of open miracles. Because of open miracles, then you don't have free choice. You won't have free choice. Everyone's going to want to convert. You can't convert at that point. So will it be simpler or harder? I would say anyone who wants to convert now, things are going to get worse. I don't want to be the burden of bad news, but things in the world are going to get worse. Probably going to get a lot worse, right? Before it gets better. So anyone who wants to convert, when it's really bad, yeah, of course. What's the rabbinical court gonna ask? Why do you need this aggravation? What do you want it for? We've been gas burned. You see what's going on in the world now, all over the world. Anti-Semitism up 600%, 500%, different places. Crazy, right? So I certainly don't think it's gonna be easier, right? Do I see it getting much harder? I don't know if it's gonna get much. I don't see it getting much harder either. It'll probably stay the same. Right, but rabbis will wonder, with everything the Jews are going for, why would you want to be part of them? That'd be an obvious question. It's what everyone gets asked. It's much easier being a Noahide, right? You can still eat shrimp, right? It's much easier. It's a lot easier, right? You don't have this flack, even though you're not Jewish, but you're not a Christian. Okay, so they don't necessarily fit in a lot of places. Okay, that's true. That's true. But I would say, that you run into this. That I don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't see it getting much harder or it's only much easier. Why should it get much easier? I would hope it wouldn't get much easier. Epistle from epistemology, okay. Yeah, let me see. Any other questions here? Somebody asked, one second. Should I be allowed to go to a haunted house? Yeah, why not? Can a Jew in training go to a what's it called? Can they go to a they go to a ball game? Can they go to I wouldn't say they celebrate Halloween or anything like that, but can they go to an amusement park? That's what I was thinking. They go to an amusement park. Okay, what's the problem? They go to an amusement park. It might be a waste of time, this and that, it's a good way to have fun, okay? But it shouldn't be forbidden. To go to a haunted house shouldn't be forbidden. Well, that's not pagan. Nothing pagan about it. Just, it's all make believe. So fine. If it would be things based on pagan things or whatever, yeah, that would be an issue. That'd probably be an issue. But if not, no, it shouldn't be a problem. So someone says, besides from ancient bloodline, comes from the tribe of, it's got to be the tribe of Yehuda, right? Right? It's got to come from King David, right? It's got to be the lineage of King David, right? So many historical documents. How will we know? Because we're going to know, right? Who's gonna be the harbinger of the coming of the Messiah? Elijah the prophet, right? He's going to announce the coming of the Messiah. Now, you ask me the $1 million question. How is he going to know? God's going to put him in this world and tell everyone this is the Messiah. This is the one you got to listen to. He's the one, right? God's going to pinpoint, and there won't be any questions. People say, "How do you know?" Right? Do an interview with with the Messiah of David. All right, prove it. Show me your documentation. Show me the documentation. Okay, let me turn this rock into fire. Let me do these other things. He's going to be human, though. He's going to be a human. There's not going to be an issue with documentation because he's going to have the stamp of approval of Elijah the prophet. How are we going to know he's Elijah the prophet? That'll be pretty clear. There won't be any doubts. We're not going to have any doubts. Right? Who's Elijah today? Nobody knows. Sometimes he comes, disguises himself, and different things, but nobody knows. Nobody knows. Is he here walking around us? Probably. He comes back and does different things. Supposed to show up at every circumcision. Right? We don't see him. Anyway, if a spark of him comes or whatever. But is he walking around today? He could be disguising himself, as who knows who for whatever thing he has to do. There have been times in history he's done that. Right? He's come and disguised himself for different reasons. Right? Because God sent him to do something. Okay, but are we ever going to know? No. Right? And even if there would be demons and we'd have contact with demons, would we never know? Which probably never happened. Because the power of demons has been much weakened. We spoke about that. Would we ever know if we saw a demon? No. We'd have no clue whatsoever. So, same thing. Even if there would be a spark of Elijah and he disguised himself as, I don't know, some hobo, some who knows what, we would have no idea it's Elijah the prophet. None. Maybe have some great people, maybe. Maybe revealed himself. I don't know. But in general, most people know. We have no clue. None. The person who puts what is already decided the way of a majority a heretic. Why? What's the problem? If you go according to the majority, why be a heretic? If you go against it, you have a Zaken Mamre. You got the elder who goes against the Sanhedrin. Even if he's greater than everybody else, but he goes against the majority. Big problem. Very, very big problem. Yeah, you can't go against it. Can't go against the majorities. We don't have a Sanhedrin today, so you can have, great rabbis disagree. Okay. Now, even if, let's say, one rabbi is great and he goes against the majority, it doesn't make him a heretic. If a person listens to that rabbi, it doesn't make him a heretic either. Different opinions. If it's something clear-cut, and this is how the Sanhedrin goes, you can't go against the Sanhedrin. Yeah, that's a different issue. We don't have that today. We don't have that today. So you have different rabbinic opinions about, a lot of things. Okay. Doesn't make a person a heretic if you hold on one side or the other. Per se. Unless a clear-cut majority. Right? Unless, if there's a clear-cut majority. But this is a person of stature. That's not the same thing as going against the Sanhedrin. It's not the same thing. We don't have a Sanhedrin today. We don't have that level. We don't have that level of scholarship today. Right? So you can have great rabbis argue. Tell you a personal experience, certain things, that I do, that my rabbi told me, that a lot of people disagree with them. Okay. That's fine. But I said, I make it clear. That I take the stringencies with the leniencies. I don't pick and choose. So if I do what he says across the board, other people can disagree. Okay, so I'm disagreeing. People can disagree. I don't have a problem with that. Other people may have, they say, but this one said that one said that. I said, okay. Voting's a good example. It's not really, I wouldn't say it's such a big mitzvah today, but, voting in an Israeli election. So my Rabbi and his group say you shouldn't vote. He said you shouldn't vote. Now, the vast majority of the Chazanich, others said you should vote. Okay, but there are other great people in that generation also said you shouldn't vote. Right? You shouldn't vote. So he told me you shouldn't vote. Right? So many years ago when I didn't have the merit to vote, a great rabbi said, yeah, but this great one and that great one and the other great one said you should vote. I said, okay. So let me ask you one very simple question. Do you hold everything they say, or you just pick and choose? I said, I get somebody I can ask anything, anytime, any place, got everything in the palm of his hand. If he says left is right, right is left, that's what he tells me to do, that's what I do. I said, I don't pick and choose. That was the end of the conversation. Okay, good point. Fair point. That's it. Someone asked, can I give an example of a person being a heretic? They don't believe in heaven and hell. They don't believe in reward and punishment. They don't believe one verse, is from the Torah. They believe 99% of all the verses are from the Torah that came from God. They believe one verse doesn't. That's a heretic. Different levels of heretics. That's one of them. That's, they don't believe, in some prophecies of Moses. They don't believe in 13 principles of Maimonides. They don't believe in resurrection of the dead. Coming of the Messiah. That makes them a heretic. These are basic things. Why do you think people come out so much against, Rabbi Manis Friedman? For that reason. Yeah, come on. You really think a person's going to burn? You really think they're going to fry? You think they're really going to get punished? The Torah says clear. I mean, not so clear, but the Torah makes clear there's reward and punishment. Every time you say the second paragraph of the Shema, reward and punishment. How can someone with a mass following say there's no reward and punishment? Or there's no punishment like the Torah? That's heresy. That is heresy. A person says, well, I believe in some things, not all things. Yeah, that's a problem. There are basic tenets the Rambam says you got to believe in. Jews, not non-Jews. I think a lot of them are good for non-Jews to believe in also. But Jews have to believe in. You can repent for that. But for goodness sakes, if you're going to say, we're going to water down reward and punishment, it's someone else. Say that almost, if a kid grew up with a doll, at 3 years old, I mentioned to mine, it's going to go on, it's going to be live in next week, next Monday. I said, somebody plays with a doll at the age of 3. Turns out to be a homosexual. So how can an Orthodox rabbi say he's not going to get punished? I know the other Orthodox will be upset with me. You're right, because that's heresy. What do you do with Leviticus chapter 18? But that's how he was. It's no big, it's not a, you don't need rocket science to say this kid was going to turn into homosexual. Yeah. What do you think? God's going to punish him? Yeah. Is it his fault? Whose fault is it? Science has never proven it genetically. It's one of the main points I made yesterday. Science has never proven it genetically. I had someone scream at me and say, oh, come on. This relative he was born that way. And they're screaming at me, born that way. So I got one line in. I said, but science hasn't proven it. Science hasn't proven it. Stop them in their tracks. That doesn't matter. Of course it matters. If you believe in science, science has not proven it conclusively, for sure not. So the kid was like that. Okay. Could you send the kid to a psychologist and fix him? Probably. Has happened. Got psychologists who can help people like this. But to say he's not going to get punished? Isn't that the most severe punishment we have today? That's the Gracious Shabbos, being homosexuals. That's penalty. That's penalty. That's heresy. Right? And the person said, yeah, I know the ultra-Orthodox are going to be upset with me. Because you're a heretic. That's why we're going to be upset with you. That's heresy. The person who does not believe in what Rabbi tells them a heretic. No. Doesn't necessarily make them a heretic. If they tell them something at the Torah, they don't believe them. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem what they believe in Torah, not because of what they said. If what they said is true and they don't listen to them, that's their problem. If they say you can't desecrate Shabbos, a Jew's not allowed to desecrate Shabbos. The person doesn't listen. And that Jew desecrates Shabbos. Yeah? Now, why does it desecrate Shabbos? They don't want to believe in the rabbis, they want to believe in this. Does that make them a heretic? Could, very well could. Depends what it is. But if he's telling you something the Torah says and they don't believe in it, yeah. They're going against what God says. Now, heretic has a lot of definitions. The Rambam and the laws of repentance speak different levels. Maybe one day I'll go through it. Speaks about different levels. A heretic can be, again, someone who believes in the entire Torah except one verse. That can be a heretic. Really, a heretic, the Gemara defines a heretic and says, what do we need these rabbis for? They're wasting time. They're totally wasting time. Yeah. People sitting and learning. Sponges, cockroaches, getting money. Yeah. For doing nothing for society. Yeah. That's heresy. That's what the Gemara says is heresy. What do I need these rabbis for? Clear heresy, the Gemara says. So the rabbi tells them this is the halacha, they go against what they say. They say, I don't care. Let's say that they got it right. They say this is the absolute halacha. You can't wear wool and linen together. Yeah, that's what the Torah says. And they say, I don't believe it. Okay, this is what the Torah says. Yeah, you show them black and white. This is what the Torah says. So they deny God. So that makes them, not everything that a person does will make them into a heretic. There'll be plenty of things that will, but you have to be within certain parameters. The true definition of the Gemara says, what do I need these rabbis for? That's a different issue. But there are different levels. There are different levels. Let's say the rabbi says one thing and there's a difference of opinion. And other rabbis disagree. They don't want to listen to them. They want to listen to someone else. Okay, that's not heresy. It's a disagreement. Clear-cut disagreement. But if the person is saying heretical things and the person says, I got evidence they're saying heretical things, there's this whole thing with Rabbi Manis Freeman. I don't want to get into it. But, there are people saying he's done so much good work, and look at all the books he's read, and look at all the followers he has. Okay, I don't deny that. But you can't say there's no reward and punishment. That is a serious problem. That 100% is a serious problem. I don't have anything personally against him. No one has anything personally against him. It's against what he says. Yeah, that's a problem. Now, someone can say, you tell them that. There are people who want to protect him. So the people say, oh, come on, you're just exaggerating this. And if they don't listen to you, okay, it's their choice. They want to listen to, they want to listen to such a person. Okay, let them listen. Yeah. But a number of things he says is heretical. So if a rabbi says you can't listen to him because he's heretical and they have proof for it, and you don't listen to it, so you listen to a heretical rabbi. Yep. So what you're listening to, what he says is heresy. Yep. That would make it heretical. Clear. Someone asks, I don't need a strawberry. And someone says that I'm going so far, are they a heretic? No. Don't make them a heretic. People say, oh, come on, there are no bugs in it. Oh, really? I know someone's a world-class bug expert says full of bugs. They want to deny it. So either say, okay, look into this, look into that, and see. They're telling you it's full of bugs. I had somebody tell me, close to Tuber Shvat, I like to eat, dates and this and figs. So how do you eat figs? So figs are infested. There are ways to check them. Kind of hard though, because the bug is the same color as the fig itself. So it's very, very hard to check. You can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it. So by the time of the Talmud, there was never a problem. Okay, let's say that's true. Let's say the time of the Gemara, there's no problem with figs being infested. Good. No problem whatsoever. Beautiful. But we know today it's a problem. We know today for sure it's a problem. So now you want to tell me it's not a problem? Now you want to say, someone doesn't want to listen to that information. Does it make them a heretic? I don't know if it makes them a heretic, but they're going to they're going to transgress 5-6 prohibitions every time they take a bite of that strawberry. But we're not saying make them a heretic. Right? Certain things at the time of the Gemara changed. The Gemara says it's a form of cucumber that was spicy. Right? That was sharp. Like an onion. We don't have cucumbers today that are sharp. We wouldn't say they were sharp today. Could be they changed. Okay. Maybe they changed. Figs changed. Even if they weren't a problem at the time of the Gemara, they're a problem now. So how can someone stick their head in the sand and say, oh, it's not a problem? They are transgressing. It doesn't necessarily make them a heretic. Right? It doesn't make them a heretic. Do we tell others that they are a heretic? Nah. What's the point? You don't have to tell them they're a heretic. You just say, okay, you don't believe. You don't believe you're eating bugs. Tell them to go open up a cauliflower. raw cauliflower, broccoli. We fasted, right? You don't need a microphone. You don't need a microscope. They're there. 100% they're there. So say do an experiment. Someone told a friend of mine, lettuce wasn't a problem. You didn't need to check it. So I said, you have a lettuce? I said, yeah. Took out the core, smashed the thing open. I won't tell you what he saw. Perfectly good head of lettuce. Very good head of lettuce. Wasn't old, wasn't wormy, nothing. Whole bunch of things came out of it. Oh, it's not a problem. Must be an old bag. Must be. Is this fresh? Fresh produce. If you see it with your own eyes, you can't deny it. I don't want to hear it. Okay, doesn't make them a heretic, right? It's got specific definitions over here. Yeah. Let me see other questions here. Someone says a heretic could be a born Jew, right? 100%. Without being a non-Jew. Let me see here. Oh, a lot of questions I missed here. 1 second. I think the whole world will come again, the Jews and Christians. Nope. The prophet says the war of Gog and Magog, a third are going to die, a third are going to survive, and a third are going to be injured. Right? Anyone's an idolater, they ain't coming back unless they repent. You're not going to have Christians left. Why would you have Christians left? Right? Goes against 7 Noahide laws. Idolatry, pretty big transgression. Right? Pretty big transgression. So they ain't coming back. Chama, is that short for Hamas? I don't know. I don't think so. Right? There is, why was the, by the floods, it says, what was the final seal? Hamas. Stealing by force. Yeah. I don't think that's a coincidence. Someone here says, a heretic could be a born Jew, right? Do I believe Jews and non-Jews have immortal souls? Yes. Yes. Now, a soul could just be totally cut off, and therefore, if they die, nothing happens to them. They don't have a portion of the world to come. There are souls. Certainly, Jews and non-Jews could, totally get spiritually cut off, right? So they wouldn't be immortal. But I would say most probably would be, right? I don't think anyone's that evil today. So even a non-Jew potentially could have a portion of the world to come, right? For sure, if they keep the Noahide laws, for sure. But that knocks out, a good chunk of the population, or Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians. Muslims believe in one God, right? We hold, even though there are opinions that they don't believe in one God, we hold they do, because they believe in one God. They're not going to go wiped out at the end of days, right? If they believe in the right God, and they might be wiped out because they made up a new religion, okay, right? But again, if they repent, good, right? But again, the vast majority of the world by that point is going to get wiped out. There'll be a remnant of the Jewish people that survive. So if we're holding by Torah mitzvahs, we've got a very good chance. Very, very good chance to survive. If you're a Christian, you're in trouble. If you're a pagan, if you're a Buddhist, if you are if you're a Hindu, you're in serious trouble. That's idolatry. Idolatry is death penalty. Why would God bring them back? It's false religion. All these religions are false religion, even though some people say the Muslims are closer to Noahides, very good, because they believe in one God. I wouldn't say they're de facto. Some people might, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're de facto Noahides. But even if they're not de facto Noahides, they're making up a new religion. Can't make up a new religion, so why would God keep them around? Why would they survive? They wouldn't survive. Someone says, a born Jew denied that both good and bad comes from Hashem, right? And called that stupid. Isn't that part of 13 principles? Yeah. Right? They'll say only good comes from God, right? The Chofetz Chaim says, the bad that we see, we don't understand. But God is all good, right? So whatever comes from God. That's true. That is true, right? So a born Jew denies that. They go against 13 principles, yeah. And that's definitely a problem. Is being Jewish a race or just a religion? It's a way of life. Some people call it a race. Some people call it a religion. It's very hard to define what Judaism is. A Jew is a Jew, bottom line. Got to keep what God says. It's not just a religion. right? Not just a religion. I would say, you want to ask me what it is? It's a way of life. It's a way of life. I want to say it's a race. I want to say it's a religion, right? We believe God gave the Torah. God passed it down to us. Passed it down to Moses. Passed it down to us. We have to keep it. That's what Judaism is. And you got to follow what the Torah says. Someone says, is the Messiah a savior, or what is his job? His job is, he's going to be a great leader, going to be a great warrior. His job is to usher in a world of peace, destroy everyone who's a heretic, build the temple, bring in the exiles, right? That's his job. He's got to bring in the exiles, build the temple, build the Beis Hamikdash, and if he's the Messiah of David, he can't die. Messiah of Joseph, difference of opinion whether he dies or not. Messiah of David cannot die. That's what he's supposed to do. Will the Messiah save all the world? It's not going to save all the world. We just said, the prophet says, a third are going to die. Not going to save the whole world. Certainly not going to save the whole world. It's not even going to save all the Jewish people. I don't believe all the Jewish people are going to repent, right? I'm pessimist in that sense. Only a remnant of the Jewish people. The whole world is not going to save the whole world. The whole world to come in peace afterwards. But, again, a third of the people die, a third of the people survive, and a third are injured. Question whether they survive or not. Take 8 months, the prophet says, to bury everybody. Doesn't mean he's going to save the world, right? He's not going to save everybody, right? He's going to bring the world to peace, yeah. But it's going to be nasty. It's going to be a bloodbath. That's the way it sounds. That's the way it sounds. Somebody asked, 1 second, let's finish this up. What do you think about hypnosis? Hypnosis, I don't have really an opinion either way. People can get into deep hypnosis and supposedly reveal past lives, but that'd be against certain things I know in Kabbalah, that in past lives you'll never know it in this world. So I know exactly how that would work, deep hypnosis. Can it help people, deal with certain issues that someone knows? It could be. I'm not really pro or against it. I would say. Somebody says, 2/3 is dead or damaged. Talk about population control, right? What's all about cutting a sharp type of vegetable like onions and garlic, where the flavor is now in the knife? Very good. So, if it's a meat knife, can't eat it with dairy. Can't eat that onion with dairy. If it's a dairy knife, can't eat it with meat. Right? If it's parv, I can eat it with whatever I want. But if it's sharp, let's say an onion or scallion or something like that, again, the power, the pressure of the knife and the sharpness itself. If it's a meat knife, I can't eat it with dairy because it takes on the qualities of the meat knife. If it's dairy, I can't eat it with meat. Right? That's the thing with the knife. The Antichrist is God sent to destroy all idols. No. The what do you call it? The Messiah comes. It's going to be this big war, massive war. A lot of people are going to die. Messiah cleans everything up afterwards. So basically, anyone who is idolatrous, they're as good as dead. They're going to be as good as dead. So anyone who doesn't deserve to live, i.e., anyone who's idolatrous, whatever, could be Jews also, right? The only people who are going to survive are the people holding the right path to Torah mitzvahs, or Noahides. Everyone else, if they're idolatrous, unless they repent, they're as much as dead. What happens after 7,000 years? The world gets rebuilt, right? The world gets rebuilt, and that's called Olam Haba. It's called the next world. The question is it? Are we in the same body? This resurrection of the dead. Are we going to be in the same body or not? It's going to be the same type of world as this world. Major difference of opinion, right? The Rambam and others. Rambam says, won't be any different than this one. Others disagree. So nobody knows. Yeah, let's just finish this up. How many souls does a human have? Only one. Right? It could be. It's come back. There is reincarnation. We Jews believe in reincarnation. It's a Kabbalistic idea. I'm not going to go into it now, but it is a Kabbalistic idea that a soul could come back, fix up whatever it needed to fix. So that's, I've heard, either 3 times the soul comes back or maybe 4 maximum. We don't keep coming back multiple times, right? In general. Yeah, I'm going to stop there. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday. There will not be a class on Thursday due to sukkah. Probably not next week also to the holiday. Maybe, probably next week not also. But anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I have videos on Q&As, Ethics of Our Fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICOFFMAN@gmail.com, whichever good. Beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day, depending where you are. And